What I'm going to talk about today is two images of Vishnu at Angkor Wat, new perspective of Hinduism in Cambodia in the 13th century. Well, I think for 15 minutes, I was going to talk about like living Hindu art in Cambodia, but 15 minutes is not enough, so I changed it, and I just chose a specific topic about Hinduism in the 13th century. So the purpose of this presentation is to share some information about living Hindu art in Cambodia, just some information. So the main point I will be talking about are, firstly, a brief introduction about Indianization to Southeast Asia. Like, we've been talking a lot since the day one, so I'm gonna take long to do that, no. Secondly, about early representation of Vishnu and architecture in Cambodia. Thirdly, the discovery of two statues of Vishnu at Angkor Wat. Next, I'm going to talk about as well iconography, techniques, and style of this statue, and epigraphical evidence, and Hindu architecture in the 13th century. And finally, try to find, an artistic exchange between Angkor and Lopburi, because I noticed about, the mutual influence from these two regions. Okay. So I think we have been talking about this, like, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 topics about Indianization. There is no doubt that belief practice of the religions Indianization into the Southeast Asian states since the beginning of current era, and Indian craftsmen have also inspired the Southeast Asian artists. However, they transform it in their deep understanding of the knowledge to their own creativity. For instance, Cambodian Hindu icons demonstrate their own style and artistic. So I'm going to give some example. So because in Cambodia, like other Southeast Asian country, like Hinduism was a predominant religion in Cambodia, and since the beginning of current era to the 12th century. And also Vishnu is one of the supreme god, or deity, and also play an important role in terms of belief, practice, and architecture. And a great number of this icon was found in southern part and southeastern part of Cambodia. They are mostly forearm standing images holding various attributes. So the upper right hand holds a wheel, chakra. The upper left, a conch shell, shankar. The lower right, a ball indicating the earth, and the lower left, a club, danda. So I would like to give some example of the early representation of Vishnu statue and the largest temple, Hindu temple dedicated to Hindu. So here's some example. The first evidence of statue of Vishnu. It dated about in the 15th century. Actually, in the 5th century CE. So we can see for the first representation of Vishnu in Cambodia, a strong influence, still a strong influence from India, from the school of Mathura. And later on, I have another example. So This is a Vishnu from the south of Cambodia. I mean, he has 4 arms, holding the upper right, upper right hand chakra, the upper left, without a doubt, I think a conch shell, because the arm was broken. And the lower right, a ball, and the lower left, kind of a clock, yeah. So you can see now the evolution of of this Vishnu presentation. In terms of art, they try to create now their own creativity. Their own identity. But that as I show the first image is strong influence. Now they start in the 6th century, something changed. So it's an example like you have seen from the day one. This is the Angkor Wat temple, and it's built it was built in the 12th century. And it's also one of the world largest Hindu temple. And let's move on to the discovery of these 2 statues. Where I find this statue. So this is a Angkor Wat, a plan of Angkor Wat, and you can see the blue color. This is called Gallery of Prapon, Gallery of 10,000 Buddhas. And the red one is called the Gallery of Bagan. So where the statue are situated? Well, you can see the red circle that the statue are stated. Sorry, but I just want to give you some brief story where I found this statue by accidentally. Last year I went to Angkor Wat to take some photo about Buddha statue. For my research on the Theravada Buddhism in Cambodia in the 13th century, and just walk around, and I saw like 2 statues without heads, and it's very interesting. Like it's about 1.70 meters. And I just took some photo, detail of it. Decoration and attribute. I try to understand more why this statue, look similar, and where did it come from? And when were they brought to the temple, to Angkor Wat? Of course, they were brought from somewhere in Angkor, because in the middle period, like in 15th or 16th century, this is where it was, the time of the rise of Theravada Buddhism. So Angkor Wat, like people could go there to pray. They could bring any god, any statue. So Angkor Wat at some open publicly. Not in the time of Hinduism. It was not allowed to go inside. But this time they can bring. They could bring everything, like a small statue in bronze or in wood, anything, because it's written in inscription. So I think I want to show you something. This on the right, that's the first statue of Vishnu. So why we could identify that? Because we can see the 2 attributes, conch shell and a ball, actually. So, but unfortunately, the head, was stolen. Maybe around in the 1990s, there's at the time the military when they stole and sold it, maybe in Thailand, and then shipped to somewhere in Europe or in the States, because we found a lot of Khmer and other Southeast Asian sculpture in some art collection European, I mean, a European country and the state. So on the left, it's a photo, I mean, took, if I'm not wrong, in 1930, I think. So we can still see the head of Vishnu, but this time the representation of Vishnu is different, in the form kind of like a long cloth, a long, I mean, it's not like like female, I mean, something like that. At first like male, so now you can see something changed. So why it changed? So have a look. Is it another Vishnu? So always the head was stolen, because the looter, they like, I mean that it's not impossible to bring the whole statue. It's very heavy, so it just broke like the head, or maybe some kind of hand, but mostly the head, because they can sell it in the market. So like most of the statue at Angkor Wat, I mean like 60 or 70%, I mean the heads were stolen. So I'm going to give some, briefly about iconography and technique on the style of this statue. Of course, we can see that this is standing Vishnu with 4 arms, and it's about 170 centimeter. They hold, like I mentioned before, various attributes. The conch shell on, the left hand, lower left hand, and the right lower, the right hand, lower right hand above. And the upper one, but the upper left and right are broken, but we can still see that the club on the left, there's no double chakra on the right. I give you some detail about current condition of this statue. Like it's very in bad condition because of, in Cambodia we know that it's humid, it's hot, and so the reason why you can see some layer of the stone off, and you can still see, I think maybe a kind of the black lacquer and red something. It is kind of restoration in the middle period. We have some inscription written about restoration. They put on lacquer, the red, and sometimes golden, a kind of a good, not golden leaf, but golden substance. I think maybe that, something like that. To protect, the statue, or in terms of as well ritual. In ritual ceremony. Here's some detail of the clothes and some attribute. And on the right, you still can see the black lacquer and some ornaments, some jewelry on, next to the conch shell. So another one. This more, a little bit. This you can see much more. Detail of the jewelry. Still in bad condition, and the same thing. Like you can see the black lacquer, and yes, some more detail. And as at the back of this statue, you can see. Maybe the looter one. Perhaps they broke this statue. We can see like recent restoration. They maybe broke in half, and they like Angkor conservation. Oh my God, 3 minutes. So I'm going to a little bit faster. So as I mentioned before, I try to find the evidence why this statue, were brought to, to this temple, and where did it come from? Maybe somewhere in the region, in the Angkor area. So I just try to find first the inscription. Maybe it's written something about this, or I'm not sure. But we have inscription called K567. If you want to know about detail, you can go to Search and can just search for this number, and you will find detailed information about this inscription. So I just give briefly. So according to the 4 stela, or this 567, found at monument 487. This monument, I just want to tell you, is located, in Angkor Thom. Like it's not far from Bayon, on the east of Angkor Thom. So this inscription dated in the early 14th century. It said that the installation of 2 statues by Jayavarman VIII, which we are sure that he is Shaivite. But he built the Vishnu temple. It's a bit strange, not strange, but I mean that a kind of a religious tolerance. So he named it, both statues named it Sri Jaya Trivikrama Mahanatha, and the second one, Sri Jaya Trivikrama Deveswari, in 1295 and 96. So we have a date in this inscription, and 2 statues of Buddha. So it's kind of coincidence. Maybe the 2 statues I just told you before, I mentioned before, were brought to the Angkor Wat temple. But I'm not sure when is it, because I have no evidence to prove that. And this is a monument. So it's just one tower actually, and a small tower. This is inside. You can, you barely see the pedestal. Yes, 2 holes for two statues. Vishnu statue, and some detail about Krishna Govardhana. You have Vishnu reclining on the Naga Ananta. You have Vishnu Trivikrama on the pediment. You have the churning of the ocean of milk, so related to Vishnu mythology. And as well, Vishnu again. And so you can see different type of Vishnu reclining. You have Mara, I think it's Rama, and you have, Vishnu on Garuda, Vishnu with 810. So the typology, I just want to try to compare between the one from Lopburi in the 13th century. It looked familiar in terms of, art. Decoration, jewelry and stuff. You can see the necklace, or the earring, the round one. You can see the same thing. But just something different is the decoration of the clothes. Of course, this Vishnu, I can show you a little bit the detail. Why is this time? We found a lot at the temple at the end of 13th century, a kind of style like that. And so, if you look back to this both statue, maybe this kind of, at the time, because in the 13th century, Lopburi, we have Thai, we have Thai people, we have Mon, we have Khmer. So of course there are some kind of exchange, artistic exchange between those regions. So I try to just give some first conclusion. Maybe I will try more evidence to prove that. So at least maybe these two statues were brought from this monument to Angkor Wat. So I will try to find more maybe in the middle period when maybe some inscription or whatever we can say more. And of course, artistic exchange between Angkor and Lopburi in the late 13th century, because I was studying, doing some research about Theravada Buddhism. So I found some kind of exchange between those regions. And of course, not only Buddhism, but also Hinduism, like in terms of art. So, in the 13th century, in the time of the rise of Theravada Buddhism, so it means that it's kind of religious tolerance at the time. And like I mentioned before, Angkor Wat, become the resident of every god. All the believer or the practitioner could go to Angkor Wat to pray. Because in middle period, most people from around in Southeast Asia come to Angkor Wat. Kind of pilgrimage over there. So, just thank you so much for your kind attention, and thank you.